Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. Today I am lacto-fermenting green beans. Now, if you've never heard of lacto-fermenting, basically it's a way to preserve food, but it also has its own health benefits. Lacto-fermentation helps us digest our food, it increases our immune function, and it can also increase your energy. It also heals your gut, which is one of my goals. I have a lot of food intolerances. I can't do gluten or nightshades. And once I realized that it was a gut issue, I started working on trying to heal my gut so that I can once again enjoy those foods in reason. Now, in a 32-ounce mason jar, I put mustard seed, I put a little bit of chili flakes, and also a teaspoon of peppercorn. And those are just to spice the green beans while they are fermenting. And now I'm going to start cutting my green beans. One of the things you have to be aware of when you are preserving food, you want to make sure you take the best of the best. Make sure that your vegetables or fruit are washed very well, and also cut off the ends and stems, and make sure that you take off any bad parts. It's not going to do you any good if you add those to your fermentation or your pickles or even your canning jars. So just go ahead and cut those out. And here I am just filling my jar. I have found so much joy learning how to preserve food in different ways. And I want to create an environment in my home where this is just normal. They see a jar covered on the counter and they know that mama is fermenting something and it's going to be delicious. And this is nothing that is new. They did this for generations and generations before us. It's just got a lost art. And I don't ever want you to be discouraged and thinking that, oh, you know what, I was never taught how to do this. My mom never did it, so I was never taught. Because you know what, I was never taught how to do it as growing up. I didn't see this kind of stuff in my house, but I decided that I wanted to learn, and I want to encourage you that no matter how old you are, no matter how you grew up, you are able to establish these healthy habits in your home as well. And you can do it. And so I also want to tell you guys that this is my very first successful green bean harvest. Let me tell you that last year we planted our plants too late, and I think I got 4 or 5 green beans on those plants, and I didn't even get to eat those. The chickens got them. So I am beyond excited of my green bean harvest, and so very thankful. That harvest is so exciting and just so beautiful when you look at it. But there was work that needed to be done before I got to this harvest. There was work that had to be done in the garden. So in order to plant the seeds, the land had to be prepared, which means my husband went out and tilled the land and cleared it. And then we made sure that the ground was good to plant. We planted our seeds and gave it adequate water and sunshine, and would check on it. Not as much as I should, but I did check on it to make sure it was doing good, and to weed it. I had the kids weed the bed that it was in. And we watched it grow into beautiful plants. And then came the harvest. And I feel like when it comes to things with the Lord, there are things in our hearts, in our lives, that we have been waiting on God for. There are things and promises that God has spoken to the depths of our hearts that may not be right around the corner. We may have been waiting on them for years, but during the process of waiting, God is working. So he plants the seed in our heart. He prepares the ground. As we seek him, we're praying, he prepares the ground and he plants the seed in our heart. And as that seed is planted, he has to provide or create the perfect environment for it to grow. So he waters us with his word. While we seek him, he meets us where we're at. He shows us new things, and he continues to grow us and grow that promise as we wait on him. And during that time, there are weeds that pop up. There's weeds of discouragement. There's sometimes weeds of other people's voices that get in the way of what God has shown us. There are all kinds of weeds that pop up that God has to take care of. So he pulls the weeds out. And you know what? That may hurt a little bit. There are things that may cause us a little bit of pain. But then once it's done, there's more room for the seeds to grow and get all the nutrients they need. And as you're waiting and the seed is germinating and the promise is coming, and you look and it's starting to grow and you start to see fruit on it. And here comes the harvest. And when you get the harvest, when you pick the harvest, you're not thinking, oh, I remember it was so hard to plant this. I remember being out there in the sun. It was so hard to plant it. All you're seeing right now is the beauty of the harvest. And when you look back on the time where you waited and waited for the harvest, you don't look back in that time with negativity or discouragement. Normally, you're not like, oh, it was so hot outside. I cannot believe I did that in the heat. You're thinking, oh my gosh, how good you are, Lord. Even in that heat, you brought me here. Or even when I waited on you for all those years, you brought me here. You look back at that time of waiting as a time of blessing and as a time of growth and as a time of just building a strong relationship with God. And it's worth it. Just like putting in the work to grow the food, to get the harvest. It's the same thing. Put in, and not that you have to work for your relationship with the Lord, but what I'm saying is just letting God do the work in you and the work through you while he brings you to the place that he has you. And I'm telling you, when you wait on the Lord to do it, you can never go wrong. When you let God lead you, you can never go wrong. He is good and he loves you, and he brings the harvest to us. So I'm filling the jar, and I actually put garlic cloves in there. If you saw me, I put a few garlic cloves in there, the halfway mark, and then I'm filling the jar with the rest of the green beans, and I am almost done filling. So now it's time to make our brine. To make the brine for the green beans, you use 1 teaspoon of real salt in 1 cup of water. Make sure that it's filtered, stir it, and pour it into the jar. This recipe also states that if you like vinegar, which I do, you can add 3/4 of a cup of vinegar to the jar to give it that tangy, vinegary taste that so many of us love. Continue to make your brine in 1 cup increments and pouring it into your jar until all the green beans are covered. I think earlier I said that I was using a 32-ounce jar. I'm not. I'm using a half a gallon jar, which is 64 ounces. So continue to add your salt brine to your green beans until the green beans are covered, and then I'll show you what to do from there. So now I am getting the air bubbles out of the jar, which is actually what you do and you can. And I use a chopstick and it kind of pushes the air bubbles up to make sure that there's enough liquid in there. And then I have this handy dandy fermenting tool by Ball, which comes with a spring with a flat surface that kind of helps push everything underwater. It's important to keep everything under the brine when you're fermenting because anything above water is going to mold, therefore ruining your whole ferment. I will put a link in the description for that tool. And there I'm done. It has a little opening on the top so that it's allowed to burp, so you don't even have to worry about that. Hi guys, it's Tamara with Homegrown Devotion Homestead. Now about 13 days ago, I started fermenting green beans. Lacto-fermenting them, they're good for your gut. They can be good on salads and all kinds of things. So now is the opening to see how they came out. So let's see. I have this handy dandy thing by Ball that helps keep everything down. Let's taste them. They're good. I actually added vinegar to it. The recipe allowed for either 100% water and salt, or you could use vinegar with the water and salt, and I did vinegar and they're excellent. So I'll put the recipe in the comments. Thank you for joining me.